wanted to play a song to open and close with a song, which I don't think is going to happen right now because I honestly just wasn't really prepared enough to see all the moving pieces that needed to fit together for it to happen. So it's just, so we're going to imagine we're listening to a song. And the song is Imagine, right? By John Lennon, the Imagine song. Right, so that's such a powerful song for our generation, our world, our practice, um, and so maybe we don't all know the words, but we can kind of imagine, imagining all the people uh, living as one without the need to be right or the need to fight for resources, seeing everybody connected, seeing everybody as a brother and sister uh, in this journey, like we're all on the same journey. Um, and through our evolution, we've had to fight for power to survive. So anyway, letting go of our evolution and evolving to the next level where we are okay. We have enough. We don't have to fight each other for resources anymore. So that song really, captures that essence so perfectly. Um, Maybe for the next time I'll plan better and set it up so we can listen to that because there is such a power to the listening. Um, so we've imagined that we've listened to that song now. And so the next question or topic I'm putting out there is what's the point of this? What is the point of being here? The point of practicing? And it's to wake up, right? So that's generally accepted. That the point of our practice and the point of working together and striving and working hard on ourselves is to wake up. And so with that in mind, right, that's still very vague. So I started talking about it recently over the past year, more about what that means. And so how I'm talking about it is we wake up to the absolute and then we wake up to the relative. These are both essential, right? We see them as one, right? And not one. So waking up to the oneness is like experiencing. For me, my first waking up experience I had was as a Christian, as a born again Christian. I woke up and I felt the oneness with God. And it transformed my life as a child, as like a 13 years old, and it was very powerful. And I feel I'm blessed to have that experience. And then over time, people told me, "Oh, you had that experience. Well, that means this. That means now you're a Christian, and it means now you read the Bible, and it means now you believe in hell." And it just starts to get more sort of divided. This experience of oneness then becomes this relative experience. It gets defined in a relative way. And so it took me years to kind of wake up out of that the relative side, to wake up to that, to what that means. And I eventually just could not reconcile that there's a hell, and some people who just don't happen to have the circumstances will go there randomly because they weren't in the right place at the right time. Just anyway, the whole thing, I was like, yeah, it just doesn't. It's not reconciled There's a division there that's still, and that's how they want it. They say, nope, there's good and bad, there's God and devil. They will never be reconciled. And you're supposed to make sure you're on the good side and judge the bad side without judging. So anyway, right? Just that was sort of my first experiences of wrestling with oneness and the relative. And it was natural for me to evolve towards Zen because of that initial realization that there's something that's not reconciled. Because that's what I want. I want the big reconciliation. And so, I started practicing Zen, and it really, it made perfect sense to me, and it was just very exciting to find that philosophy that really reinforced that there is a possibility of reconciliation in the relative. So we can be relative and express oneness. And so, yeah, so for us, right? So now talking about how can we, so we wake up to the oneness, ideally in Zen. We strive for that, where we realize we're all one. And that can happen in a million different ways, or infinite, right? We all, I could, well, right, maybe my shirt, right? I noticed a label on my shirt and I realized, wow, this shirt was made by somebody. There's somebody in China or Vietnam or wherever that sewed my tag onto my shirt or was in charge of that. And I can wake up to be like, wow, we're connected. I want to find that person and see how they're doing in their life. And anyway, I don't know, that's kind of a silly example of waking up to oneness, but it's just an example of how it can happen in infinite different ways for everybody differently. Part of what I want to talk about in a little while is waking up to death, right? That's been a big waking up experience for me. And so the koan I'm going to talk about has to do with that. And so now can I share, will you allow me to share my screen? All right. So this is from the Householder Koan's book, which is a new koan book, right? We study the ancient koans, the old koans from our tradition, and then this is a new modern Zen, modern American Zen. Maybe it's not all American, but coming from our lineage, connected with our lineage from our newer generations of teachers who created this to be more, more accessible to us in our culture, in our cultural differences from the old koan's cultures. So anyway, this, I was reading through it and found this. And I really love it. And it really reflects what I've been experiencing myself over the past, during this year. Helga sees her own death. Be respectfully reminded, time swiftly passes by, and opportunity is lost. today, the days of your life are decreased by one. Do not squander your life. And so there's a chant we used to do. Was it at night? I think it was at night at the last sitting. Like, time is swiftly passing by. Practice is as if your hair is on fire. Do not squander your life. And so this impetus to push towards practicing deeper and harder and more strenuous practice as a virtue towards this enlightenment. It's an expression of the relative, right? It doesn't say we're all one and everything's good, so just enjoy your life as it is. Accept the oneness and just bask in the oneness until you die. No, life is hard. Things are difficult. It's so hard to wake up. Suffering is everywhere. We have to work really hard to overcome our issues, to overcome our barriers, to wake up to the next level. It's urgent. You should do it. Be inspired. Practice more. So it's a real relative affirmation within the oneness. I'll go on. Let's see. You can wax philosophical or pontificate about death all you wish, but the fact remains that you will not live in your skin one day. You will not be able to do any of the things that occupy your life right now, nor will you be able to do anything for anyone. How can you live awake to the fact that your own death may happen at any moment? Although we usually think that we were born, are now alive over certain years, and one day will die, we are actually being born and dying all the time. Zen teachers tell us that birth and death repeats itself in every moment, again and again forever. We can hone this sense of continually being born and dying by consciously practicing it over and over. For instance, when you are weeding in your garden, be aware of being born in your garden. When you are done weeding, die and be reborn, putting your garden tools away. When you are taking your shower, be aware of being born in the shower. Die stepping out of the shower and be born drying yourself with a towel, and so forth. Set aside time to do this practice during your day. Okay. Being born and dying every moment. How are you living this reality right now? So that is really such a powerful question. So that's what I woke up to, recently. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die, and I'm going to see everybody after they die, right? That's a belief, right? That's my own belief, right? It doesn't really matter, right? This was my awakening. So I'm like, whoa, I'm going to see everybody who I see now. So like if I'm if I'm upset with somebody and I'm judging them, I may be nice, right? I may be nice and I may be smiling, but in my head, I can be judging people, um, terribly. And in fact, right, this is a big problem. It's a problem for me. Being judgmental and projecting negative things onto people constantly. And then, finding my space for myself where I can just be happy with myself and not be worried about all these people that are bothering me. That's kind of how I've lived my life for too long. And it's kind of how our world is living. It's like we can maintain a bare sense of connection loosely, but we don't really want to find out what we're all thinking about each other. Please no. Because it's painful. It's very painful to realize, oh, wow, I like this person, and I thought they were nice, and I found out that they didn't like me, or they judged me for what I was doing. It's terrible suffering that we cause this way, that I've caused this way. And so since then, I'm like, whoa, I don't want to see the people that I've been judging in the afterlife, right, including my family. I want the doors to be open between us in the afterlife. I want to see everybody I've ever seen on this planet in the afterlife and have them look at me with appreciation and realize that, oh, we are one, and have that openness to each other spiritually. So that really inspired me. I'm going to back my seat up a little bit here because the sun comes in. So that was huge. That was huge for me to realize that. I'm like, whoa, I'm like in my 50s, and I've been such a jerk all my life and just judging people so much. It was terrible. I got to do something. It's like use every moment to try to undo the suffering I've caused and recreate my life in this new space of really wanting to give love to everybody. And so with that in mind, it just... So anyway, so with that in mind, right, there's this sense of waking up to death. Waking up to death, it means waking up to life. It means, how can I live my life now to reflect the best death that I can imagine? And so we all have different ways we can wake up to this. I stumbled upon a great documentary about simulation, right? There's new theories, right? Simulation theories that our whole universe that we see and touch is actually a simulation. We're part of a program that's being run from higher levels, kind of like the Matrix, which I think is actually reasonable. Elon Musk, for example, he really opened my eyes to this when he explained it as out of all the possibilities of technology advancing to the point where you can't distinguish games or simulations from reality, we're like a few years away from that. We're like 5 years away from our technology being able to put us in rooms where we can't distinguish, or it's on the TV, we can't tell if it's a simulated image or a real person. We're not too far from that. So he said the chances of us not being in a simulation, the chances of that not happening sometime in the universe already are astronomically low. The chances are very high that this reaching technology to a certain point has already happened, and it's already created simulations and universes within that. Anyway, it's like statistically, it's much more likely that we're in a simulation than we're not. right? Whatever. Who cares? It's like I'm just pointing it out there that this is a way to wake up. The people who are simulation people have woken up. They're like, oh my God, this is a simulation. It's like Groundhog Day. What am I going to do with my life now, right? If I knew I was in a simulation being observed and part of a thing, I now feel the freedom to do whatever I want with my life. I don't feel like I'm in this rat race where I just have to climb the ladder and just do certain things to be a good person. It's more like that's blown out of the water, so now what do I do? And so like Groundhog Day, it's like, well, I'm going to take steps every day to try to make this simulation more interesting and more exciting and more connected. Why would I want to add negativity and suffering to my simulation? And so it's a way to wake up, seeing that, right? Seeing the matrix as a real dynamic. And so part of what I want to put out with that is, if we're in the matrix, you have the red pill and the blue pill, right? You have the choice to kind of break out of the simulation and try to change the structure that's behind running everything, or you can stay in ignorance and just keep living the life and quoting the news every day and asking about the weather and saying things, anyway, sort of a simplistic, just non-thinking life. And what I've realized is that the same thing is going to happen, right? If Neo had taken the blue pill, from that awakening standpoint, he can change the world from inside. It doesn't matter if we break out and do incredible, amazing things, or if we stay at home and do laundry and quote daily weather. We can change the world from inside or outside once we've woken up. And so for me, that looks like I'm sending more love to people. I'm walking around and I start to judge and I think, oh my gosh, I'm judging again. I'm going to send love to you, to everybody, to anybody and everybody. So I'm practicing that more from this being inside, being stuck, being part of the problem. I am making that change in a deep way that changes everything. And so, what would you do differently? What would you do differently if you realize it's a simulation, or you realize that there's a rebirth, and you have a chance in the next life to see your karma and try to make it different? What would you do different today in your life if you know that this is part of a bigger plan and we're basically all, observing each other, and we all have accountability. Every thought, every action we take is going to be accountable. We'll be accountable for that. How did we recreate our simulation? How did we recreate our life based on how we've woken up today? And so anyway, that's the big question, right? How can we live our life once we wake up to death? The realization that there's limited time and we're free to do whatever we want because we're creating our universe, right? And so I'm hard on myself every day. I'm not doing enough. I want to do more volunteer work. I want to help more people. I want to make a better difference. Not necessarily a bigger difference, but better. I want to make a better difference in my life and the life of those that I'm connected with. So yeah, it's this aspect of care, waking up to care. So I may be upset, I may be judgmental, I may be whatever, but I can always come back, take refuge in the fact that I care. I care about this world, I care about other people. And so even if I feel separate from you, I can still offer that I care about your growth. I care about your evolution. And so, that might be the loving action, right? Of the three tenets. Bearing witness, not knowing, bearing witness, and loving action. Well, what is love, right? How can I be love? How can I give love? So loving action isn't like, oh, I love, and so all my actions are loving. No, it's like, how can I feel love in a way that really creates that bridge to others? And so it's a love practice. What does love feel like to me? How do I feel? What's the difference between my being in love or lust versus true, unconditional care for others? And I'm just, starting to sort these things out for myself. Like, what's the difference in these feelings? And how can I sort of hone in on this unconditional, loving care, nurturing care that I can offer continuously? So it's a real practice. Like loving action, like he kind of talks about, like, oh, loving action just happens, right? And then it's love. Well, that's still pretty vague. I'm interested in, what does that mean? How can we develop that? How can we really create the bridge from bearing witness to loving action? And how do we know it's true love or real love, unconditional love? Yeah, so that's a practice that I'm offering, suggesting. So yeah, let's wake up to the urgency that we are going to die, and that we will be accountable for all our thoughts and actions in one way or another. And whoa, it's like when I realize people are going to know exactly what I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I got to really change my thinking so that I can reconcile what I'm accountable for. My computer is about to die, so when it does, I'll just go to the other computer. So anyway, that's basically that's in a nutshell what I have for today. Is this reflection on death and waking up, waking up to the oneness, and then waking up to the relative side that we need to take care of. And how can we take care of that? How can we keep pushing ourselves to take care of this with urgency based on this waking up to the oneness? We're all one. We're all going to know exactly what each other's thinking and feeling, right? So how can I take care of my life to give more love, to offer more bridges than divisions? And it's hard work. It means working through our triggers. I mean, geez, right? For me to feel upset with somebody and still be giving love, I'm not there yet, right? I'm working hard on it. In the moment, in the heat of the moment, is what I'm really trying to get. Because I always find myself later like, oh my gosh, I was upset. Okay, now I'm sending love after the fact. So I'm working on honing it so that I can be sending love while I'm upset. I'm upset with you, I'm irritated, and I'm sending love at the same time. That is hard, right? That's the hard part that I'm working on. So it's a real challenge.